Lawrence Fox, thank you very much indeed. Now, of course, free speech is something you would have thought was a given in our society, but it's become less so as the years have gone by. Well, one man who's always made a bit of a stand on these issues is, of course, Toby Young, and he is founder of the Free Speech Union, and it's an organisation that stands up for people who get sacked for standing up for their principles. Well, extraordinarily, we've got the news overnight that PayPal have now basically banned the Free Speech Union. What is it? What has Toby Young... I mean, he's often in trouble anyway, but what has Toby Young done this time? What's the story, Toby?
Yeah, well, the story is, Nigel, I found out last week that my personal PayPal account had been cancelled.
Your personal PayPal?
Personal account I've had since 2013 because I had supposedly violated PayPal's acceptable use policy. No more detail offered than that. If you look at the policy, it's incredibly long. I mean, I had no idea what I'd done wrong. But I thought, well, it's not the end of the world. Had about 600 quid in it. Couldn't access that. They say they'll keep that for 180 days in case they need to extract damages from you for violating their policy. But not the end of the world. Then a few minutes later, I got another email saying that the PayPal account of the Daily Skeptic, the news publishing website I set up 2.5 years ago, was also being closed for the same reason. No detail offered.
And money frozen?
And money frozen initially, but I was able to get that money out.
OK.
And then a few minutes later, the bombshell, the Free Speech Union's PayPal account was being shut down. No notification, no notice at all. I'd been charged, tried, found guilty and convicted, sentenced, all at the same time, no possibility of parole. And that was a real headache because I don't think it's the end of the Free Speech Union, but about a third of our members are paying their recurring membership dues using PayPal as their payment processor. So we've had to contact all those members and say, you've got to switch to another processor because your payments aren't going through if you're using PayPal. And that's a real headache, and it means we're going to lose some revenue. It means that there are going to be some people we're not going to be able to help.
But I think we know the reason why, don't we, Toby? We know the reason why this is. This was a stance you took on what was happening in schools and the introduction of transgender ideas to young children. That was what you stood up, or you defended people who were prepared to say that was
right. I mean, I think that's
just tell the audience a little bit more about what's been happening.
Yeah, well, that's an important distinction. I think, we exist to defend people with a vast range of different points of view. We're a non-partisan organisation, provided what they say is lawful, and if they get into trouble for saying it, we'll defend them.
Regardless of their left-right stance.
We don't necessarily approve of what they say.
Sure.
We say we take no position on it. Yes. But we will defend your right to say it. We'll defend your right to free speech.
Voltairean principles.
Voltairean principles. So we've defended gender-critical feminists who've got into trouble for challenging trans rights dogma, for being no platform by university campuses, by student activists who've claimed that, they're saying that they don't think trans women should be able to compete against women in women's sports or access women's refuges, makes them feel unsafe, undermines their well-being, makes them feel depressed and suicidal, and for that reason they should be no platformed. We've defended a lot of people like that. About a fifth of the people asking for the Free Speech Union's help are feminists who've got into trouble for defending women's rights. It's extraordinary, but that's where we are today. That may be the reason. It may be that someone at PayPal has decided they don't want those people to be defended. But I think it's a new low, Nigel. We're used to people expressing contentious political views being cancelled, deplatformed, demonetised. But to demonetise an organisation that merely defends people's right to express those views,
rather than giving an opinion,
rather than expressing those views itself, that's a new low.
I think I agree with you. I think it is a new low. And what's to stop other processors from not acting in the same way?
And we're not the only organisation PayPal has done this to. There are about half a dozen similar organisations that have been cancelled in exactly the same way, violating the acceptable use policy, whatever that means. That's the accusation in the past couple of weeks. And I think what we're seeing, Nigel, is the emergence of a Chinese-style social credit system, except instead of the acceptable ideological dogma being enforced by the Chinese Communist Party, it's being enforced by woke capitalist corporations like PayPal.
Toby Young, the one thing I know about you is you will go on fighting.
We will fight back.
No, good.
Make no mistake.
Good. I'll be right behind you. Thank you for coming in and explaining it. Well, it's absolutely awful. In a moment, it's time for Talking